What I really wanted all my life was to meet somebody and get married. I was this awful romantic. It was so important to me, and I was so socially inept. It just got harder and harder all the time.
His kitchen is clean-up casserole dishes on Thanksgiving. Instead of turkey, Billy Barr's oven smells like Indian food. Since he has no family around to celebrate with, he's had to make up his own versions of holidays.
When I first built this house, I had a little Norfolk pine that was growing in here. I would get 12-volt lights and put it around it. This is how geeky I've always been. I would get my mail for the 3 or 4 weeks before Christmas and not open it. I would sit it under the tree, and then I would open it. But a long time ago, I kind of stopped. And no one sends letters anymore anyway.
Billy says he doesn't really get lonely because he's not completely alone.
So there was a pine marten that was living in the back. And it would come, the back had collapsed, but it was still like a structure, and it would live in there. And she would come in at night, wander around the house, and hang around the house for 3 years. We lived together. See, so I do have a social life. One winter there was a skunk. Skunks are klutzy, they are not good climbers. So this thing would climb down that post and it couldn't get out. So it'd be stuck in the house. So what I started to do was get behind it, open the door, and push it with a broom out the door. And once it got out of the door, I would whack it to teach it not to come in the house, because when it comes in the house, it gets whacked and it doesn't want to do that. What the skunk learned was it didn't get whacked until it got outside. So one day I tried to push it and it planted itself on the floor and would not move. I couldn't sweep it out. So finally I pushed it hard and I flipped it over on its back. That's when it's defenseless, because it can't spray. So it immediately flipped back up and sprayed inside the house. We're talking about an 8 by 10 foot shack that you couldn't, I mean, for 2 days it stunk. And I tried all these things. I poured kerosene on the floor and lit it on fire. I had a can of ketchup. Someone said tomato soup. I didn't have that. And I spread that on the floor because I was told that took up odors.
In his spare time, Billy knits his own gloves for such cold weather. But he realizes his lifestyle isn't for everyone.
The problem is the life I live is not very appealing to a lot of people, and definitely not easy to a lot of people. To me it is. But it's harsh. I mean, you know, I have to ski 8 miles to go into town and get groceries and come back.
When Billy was 21 years old, he moved into an abandoned mining shack. To pass the time, he monitored the weather and kept record of the data.
Oh, here. Snowshoe hare, a shrew, and a skunk. White-tailed ptarmigan. That's a nice winter bird.
He gave his records to a local research lab 3 years ago.
I feel like I'm doing at least a little good. You know, I lived out here all by myself. Who was I helping? Maybe me. But I wasn't really helping anybody. I do it because it's enjoyable to have that information, but I also feel like maybe I'm doing at least a little bit of a benefit.